Hello, everyone. Hello, Katie.
Hi.
Nice to see you. And your coffee.
Yeah, got my coffee ready.
I like your mug. It's nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, welcome, everyone. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Kate from Twitter, Tailgate with Kate?
Yes.
Okay, well, she does like design stuff too. So she's designing me a new coffee mug.
Oh, fun. Fun.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it. I like it. I was going to wear my shirt, my hoodie that I designed for the Lawyer You Know channel, but I keep forgetting.
Oh, fun.
But I have to leave right after here, and I probably don't want to be wearing a sweatshirt where I go. So, okay. So, wow. Long time no see.
Yeah.
So I think for those of you who are watching live or replaying, say hi in the live chat or in the comments. Hi. Wednesday is going to be our day, right? Instead of Mondays.
Yeah.
Okay. So Wednesday noon, our show time is going to be Wednesday noon instead of Monday's noon. And that's noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, 2 Central, etc. So I'm excited because we're coming on. Now, if excited is the right word, but we're just coming off minutes ago. The verdict came in for the Mark Jensen retrial, murder trial of his wife, Julie Jensen. And it was a really interesting case for a million reasons for me. First of all, this happened very close to where I grew up and went to college.
Okay.
But I wasn't there. I was out here when all of this happened. It happened in, I think, 1998 or something like that. He wasn't arrested until 2002, and then he didn't go to trial until I think 2008. So,
okay.
And he was found guilty, but then it went on to a challenge because the judge who happened, this is full of gems. The judge in 2008 happened to be the same judge who was the judge for the Rittenhouse trial last year.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is that area. And hello, Lorenzo. Oh, it's February 1st. Happy February.
Yay.
So,
Amen.
So the original judge in 2008 was the same judge. His name is Judge Schroeder for the Rittenhouse trial. And I really did not like that judge. I don't know if you watched that trial or not, but
No.
I mean, it was kind of interesting though, because he did yell at the prosecution a lot, like yell. So that's always fun. And so what was interesting is this one had a different judge. I can't remember why. But anyway, it ended up going to the Supreme Court because the challenge was whether or not the letter that the murdered wife left behind, which said, my husband is trying to poison me. He's trying to kill me. So I guess if you read this letter, please know that kind of thing. And they called it the letter from the grave, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And so it had to be retried because they didn't allow it for the second trial. So this was so this was the retrial. And he was just found guilty again. So, and what was also interesting, there's so many facets to this. The other thing that was phenomenally interesting is that the prosecutor back in 2008 had retired.
Okay.
And I think it was like a 2020 or something on this too. I mean, there's a documentary about it. It's a really famous trial. Anyway, he had retired, but he came back as a special prosecutor just to retry this case because he was so personally invested in and you could really see it throughout the trial. So another cool thing is you can still watch the original trial, the 2008 trial, and you can see the witnesses as they've aged, and it was just a really, really cool trial for so very many reasons, including that it was so close to, I knew this area.
Yeah.
And so for those of you who aren't really familiar with Wisconsin, you're probably familiar with Chicago. Everyone knows Chicago is on Lake Michigan in the famous Lakeshore Drive. Well, Lakeshore Drive, if you just keep going north, because Chicago is very close to the border of Wisconsin, there's a Lakeshore Drive in Wisconsin in Pleasant Prairie, Kenosha. Yeah, because Kenosha is right on the border. So it was right off of Lakeshore Drive where this family lived back in the day. But he's going back to, and he didn't just use antifreeze to poison her. He put together a cocktail of his own medication, which is Librium. Ding, 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 ding. He was being treated for being bipolar back in the day too. So I'm surprised they didn't use some kind of a defense for insanity. I don't know, for insanity or whatever. But he was being treated for mental illness, which is great. But he gave her his Librium antifreeze. He convinced her over the years that she was crazy. He was having gaslighting.
Gaslighting.
Mm-hmm. Convinced her she was depressed, treated her terribly, had affairs. It was quite salacious. She had one night stand or something like that, and then that was the end of him. And so he tortured her mentally for years. Ended up moving the woman he was having an affair with while he killed her within a week or two to his home. I mean, technically she didn't move in, they got another home, but I mean, married her. She was on trial. I mean, she was a witness in the trial. They had a kid together. I mean, it just goes on and on, this story. And I mean, everything that could possibly be wrong about a relationship is right there on display. And then of course it ended in tragedy. The only defense, at least this time around, was, well, actually Julie committed suicide, right? They couldn't, and so they had an expert witness come in and say, well, there's not enough evidence to say whether it was suicide or homicide. So I disagree with the homicide finding from the medical examiner. And but the thing is, that was kind of a weak defense, because if you think about it, she would have not only had killed herself over a long period of time, because there was evidence. Yeah, because usually when people kill themselves, they're going to take enough.
They'll take the whole bottle.
Oh, and by the way, she didn't die, so he suffocated her. And there was evidence of that too. Yeah, it was really nice. So
that's not suicide.
Yeah,
I mean, that could be assisted suicide.
Yeah, she had like
a whole nother thing.
Her nose was Anyway, so but for that defense to work, and I'm thinking of this if I were on the jury, and thank God I wasn't. If I were on the jury, it'd be like, okay, maybe she did commit suicide, but then she would have had to conspire to point to him as a murderer. How likely is that? When people kill themselves, they usually just go, they don't.
Right.
I mean, that's just kind of seemed.
They don't try and set somebody up for it.
Yeah, it seemed really far-fetched. And so the jury watch started pretty late yesterday afternoon.
Yep.
And they immediately came back with questions and requests for a lot of things that did not look good for the prosecution. And then today, again, more requests. And then they went to lunch and they came back and had a verdict. So I think there must have been, I'm interested to see if they interview these jurors, but there must have been one person who was like really into the details or something and wanted all kinds of extra. So it was just a really interesting trial. And I don't usually watch whole trials like that, but I had this rolling in the background for the last several weeks. And I'm glad. And then interestingly too, the judge is going to do, this is weird. And I probably guess it's because he doesn't want anything to happen on appeal. He had a couple of final touches, the judge. He asked for the no longer the defendant, what's it called after their charge? The criminal, I guess. He asked for the criminal to be walked out and that everyone remained seating as he walked out. No standing, which is interesting. Just kind of
what?
Yeah, just don't stand up for him. It was kind of weird. And he didn't have him stand for the reading of the verdict either. He had him sitting. So maybe he did that because he didn't want to stand. I'm not sure. But that was unusual. And then the other thing that I thought was a little weird is the judge ordered a pre-sentence investigation. Now those are normally done for good reason, but when you've been in prison since 2008, guilty and it's another guilty charge on a retrial, what would the investigation, I don't know, even comprise of? But he said he probably, I mean, he didn't say why he did it, but I'm guessing for reasons of appeal. So they're not going to re-sentence him for another 60 days. So a lot of interesting legal stuff with that one. Lots of interesting.
Wow. Okay.
So I hear you've been. Go ahead.
I have 2 questions for you actually about this last trial, about the Jensen trial.
Okay.
Were the jurors allowed to take notes?
Yes. I know I got the 2 trials mixed up there because I know they're not allowed to in the Murdaugh trial.
That's the craziest thing to me, that they're not allowed to take notes. Like at the end of the trial, are they just are all the jurors going to get like a packet of evidence that was submitted and then they can go through it themselves? Like, how is that going to work?
I'm not sure what they're going to give them. I imagine they're going to give them some things because a lot of times those are pre-litigated in the pre-trial but also the jury can ask for certain things, just like they did. And that often happens once they're in the deliberations. They can ask for. They're not always given what they asked for, but they can ask for. I think it's mind-blowing, especially how detail. I mean, how much detail there is on that case. I can't imagine.
Excuse me.
Can't imagine being on, but I don't know. It's the South. I mean, the jury selection was done all by the judge too. Did you know that? Yeah. Weird. That's how it's done there.
But they were allowed to strike.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're allowed to pick, but the judge. Yeah.
It's different.
It's different. I mean, it's so interesting.
Other question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I just.
No.
It's so quaint watching that trial. I feel like I'm watching a trial from the 1960s with those Southern accents and the courthouse, the way it looks, that white courthouse and everything. And those 2, the prosecutor and the chief defense attorney they're really good. I mean, they know what they're doing, and so it feels kind of Clarence Darrow to me. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Perry Mason, no, but yeah.
There's one other question I was going to ask you about the Jensen trial. No, I can't think of it. So.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's okay. If I think of it, I'll randomly ask you, or I'll send you a message or something.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. So so we had fun going through the cross-examination of Wendi Adelson in the 2022 trial, the retrial, Katherine Magbanua, where she was found guilty, but initially it was a hung jury in 2019. So now we're going to go back to 2019 and start from the beginning. And then because it culminates in that last clip that we did. And I'm just curious, and we might even go over that last clip again. Or it's not really a clip, it's a 1.5 hour recross. But I thought just to kind of keep things a little bit more abbreviated today would be kind of fun to go through the jury questions that were asked at the end of her testimony in 2019 for body language. And I call it nonverbal because I'm not a body language expert. I'm not a legal expert in any way, and by any stretch of the imagination. We're just all potential jurors here. And so I was taking a look at that. And again, for those who you are watching and replaying, remember, Katie has never seen this trial, was very unfamiliar with the trial of the murder case for Dan Markel. So I'm just can't wait for you to see how she was in 2019 when she first came in for her first testimony for the first trial, which was actually for Katherine Magbanua and her common law husband, father of 2, Sigfredo Garcia. He was found guilty, but she was hung on that one.
Were they tried together?
They were tried together. And Luis Rivera would have been tried, but he ended up giving a proffer and becoming a state's witness. Yeah. So
I also want to say I've never watched a trial before until this past week with the Murdaugh murder. I've never sat and watched a whole trial before.
Oh my gosh.
So this is so fascinating to me.
Oh, here's another cool tidbit about the Jensen trial. And there was so much there. I was just like, this trial. I'm surprised. I mean, there were quite a few people watching it, but people are really interested in like Sarah Boone and Murdaugh and but a lot of people are going back and forth from the Murdaugh. But now we can fully look at one other trial. Yep. It's hard to watch two trials at once, man. That's a lot of. But I've been like doing things around the house. I mean, I can't just sit and watch trial. No way. No way. I could. In the meantime, by the way, I got a notice for jury duty, and it's for federal court. And so I filled out the paperwork, but with my health problems, at least currently, I don't think I can ever, but because of my disability, just sit there. I can't imagine being able to. I'd have to be up every 15 minutes. That would drive the judge crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how they accommodate people. They probably don't. I mean, there's probably a limit on how much. Yeah. So it'd be great. And I think I mentioned before, I was given notice for a grand jury not that long ago too, and I would have loved to have gone, but I was like right out of surgery or right before a surgery or something along those lines. So
and my problem too is like I'm 99% sure I have adult ADHD. Like I've had it my whole life, but I can't imagine sitting there all day every day listening to, honestly, some of this has been really boring because it's trying to get the evidence in and laying the foundation, so it's been kind of and then not being able to take notes or do anything with your hands. I would be going nuts.
I would have to take notes. I'm sorry, because that's how you get through boring things, right?
Yeah. I would have to have something like I agree. Make all these little fidgets now, right. I would be having like a bag full of fidgets with me.
Although I would have a hard time taking notes because of my neck and writing. That's one of my biggest triggers. So I don't know. I don't know how I would do, but I just don't. But at the same time, but I'm not ADHD at all. I have the ability to just like focus like a laser beam for.
Yeah.
And it's like in college, that's why I did so well.
Yeah.
I mean, I just aced everything because, and graduated with honors and because I could just listen really intently and remember everything. These days, I don't remember anything because of the medication and the headaches I'm having, but there's no way because what I tend to do is listen to the trials. Once in a while, I'll have to look because there's something going on, but listen on at least 1.5, if not 2 speed.
I can't do it.
You can't do that?
No, it drives me crazy because then it's like Alvin and the Chipmunks or
no, not on this slow Southern trial. You should try it.
Okay.
At least 1.5 because it's like really slow. Yeah. It's so slow. Yeah. But I mean, at least 1.5 or even 1.25 just to speed it up a little. Yeah. If it gets too fast, I have to slow it down for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's so interesting that so many of these beyond the police brutality trials, we're seeing trials of family members hurting other family members, killing other family members. I never knew like that was such a thing. I'm such a it's scary. It's awful.
There was one day in January. Yeah, it was just this last month. I believe there were 3 different family annihilators in the same day across the United States where like, I mean, there was the guy who drove his car over the cliff, and I believe they survived. And then there was a mom with severe postpartum psychosis who unfortunately murdered her 3 children. And then there was a dad. There were 2 other dads. Like, I don't know what's happening right now, but it's insane.
Well, society is, it is. It is. All right. Okay. Well, if you think of the Mark Jensen question, just feel free. Oh, I was going to tell you one more thing about it. So the other thing that was interesting is the defense called excuse me, cough, an expert witness for forensic pathology witness. And I was watching her and I'm like, was she already on? Was she? I swear I've seen her, like, and they're acting like it was her first time testifying. She was the forensic pathologist that testified in the Derek Chauvin case, the
Okay, what's that one?
George Floyd murder.
No.
Because I had to look her up. I was like, why do I think she's so familiar?
That's crazy.
I know. There was so much in this trial that was, I mean, you had to be there. And I couldn't put it away. Thank you, Pappy. she thinks my glasses remind her, which is funny. Her or she, I don't know, he or she. Pappy, I don't know. Of E. Cartman from the South from why is my
South
brain
Park?
South Park?
Oh my God.
I love it. Because I posted a South Park GIF a couple weeks ago. Not with me, but just I think that's a connection. Okay,
I love it.
All right, so let's get back to Wendi. Want to get back to
Wendi.
So you're going to see how different she looks in 3 years prior to what she looked like in 2002. Also, because you haven't seen any of this, so let's take a look. And again, if you remember your question, feel free. And I'm going to put this in a separate window so I don't go bananas. And feel free to just interject and say, pause or stop, whatever it is that you say. And those in the comments, if you have something you want to interject and you want us to stop, please feel free to also type in pause or stop in the comments. All right. Now I'm hoping I'm getting to the right place where this is Wendi, and this is when the jurors submit some questions. Some trials, judges allow jurors to ask their own questions. Okay. All right. So let's see if I got to the right part here.
That's the right word, but the executor of that trust for the...
Okay, this is still Kappelman. Okay, so this is where I believe Kappelman's last question, and then the judge is going to pop in.
That trust for the boys, is that right?
I think she has fiduciary responsibility over the trust for the boys.
All right, thank you. That sounds right. Did you at one time hold that position in Dan's will?
Oh, before we got divorced, I probably did.
Okay, but sometime after the divorce, he changed that over to the sister.
He must have, yes.
Okay. And did you initiate proceedings to try to fight that decision that he made to make the sister the executor or the beneficiary, have the fiduciary duty for this money over you, for the disbursement to your children?
Can you repeat the
Okay, so did you initiate any type of proceeding at any point to try to contest or fight Dan Markel's sister being appointed as this fiduciary for the life insurance for the boys?
I don't believe that I did.
You did not.
I don't remember doing that, no.
No further questions.
I don't believe that I did. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
wouldn't you know that?
I don't remember. Yeah, she did. But anyway, okay, that's it.
Of course she did.
So here's the juror questions, just for fun. Just for fun. Oh, wait, oops. Take it off the 2-speed here. I just think it's really interesting to watch her, how she interacts with the jury and responds to these questions. I'm taking note of this body nonverbal here.
The big doe eyes and the look at me, I'm innocent.
Mm-hmm. Watches every movement, everything that's going on, intently interested, which is neither here nor there, but she does. So she can't really claim that she's not aware. By the way, I'm just going to say, Wendi, you missed flat ironing the back of your hair. Looks like a rat's nest.
I know.
It's like, come on. Come on. Have someone do it. Go to a blowout, man. Come on.
Oh. Unfortunately, I think she could be pretty.
Well,
yeah, anyway.
My guess, again, we're only speculating here. That's why we're here, right? Is she can't, by the time, last time we saw her, I did a post in the community post, like she's got cheekbone implants. She's had her nose worked on. I mean, she's had some things done if you look at her teenage pictures, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
she doesn't look at all like she had to have some work done, and it did help her. It did improve her look quite a bit.
Okay.
Good for her. Wonder where she got the money. No, just
Did she pay in hundreds? Stapled
She-
hundreds?
yeah, stapled hundreds. Yeah, no trace of that. So we're waiting for the questions from the jurors. I just think this part is really sometimes overlooked and very interesting.
Sorry, moving around. Just while we wait, just so you know, I will not be here, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, the 15th.
Okay.
Is that what that is? I think.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'll write it down. I didn't think it was going to take this long. Come on. I guess he has to read them to make sure that he can even ask them if.
Oh, okay.
Well, some things might be something that they're not. And a lot of people have questioned, and there's an interesting part, and I think it was this part I wanted to go through today about what kind of immunity she has. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Really important, because a lot of people do say, oh, she has immunity. She doesn't have like full
And
on.
it's like limited, you said?
Yeah. I think I can't remember the legal term for it, but it's. Okay, I'm sorry. Did not realize there was so long in between. Let's go faster.
Do you know Kim Colello on Twitter?
Yes.
Okay, she is she works in a law office. I don't know what her actual job is. So I've been texting her a lot about the Murdaugh murder trial.
Oh, have you?
Because she's watching it too. So anytime I have a legal question, I
Oh,
send her. I'm like, Kim, what does this mean?
oh, cool.
Yeah. Like when you kept on referencing proffer,
Yes.
I didn't know what that meant.
Do you know?
Kind of.
Well, a lot of legal terms, just like medical terms, come from Latin words, and but basically, it's an offer of evidence. It's an offer of information usually in exchange for something.
Okay.
So, for example, Luis Rivera, had he not proffered information, he would have been charged with murder, and so then there would have been all three of them would have been tried on the same trial. I did not realize it was this long of a pause.
I do have the Murdaugh murder on my TV right now going. And it's crazy to see the difference in the courtroom, like you were saying. Like
Well,
just based on this one.
Well, this is this is the South too, though. This is, I mean, not far.
Yeah, but this is Florida.
But this is Tallahassee, Florida, which is the top. It's right.
I don't remember.
Okay, let's get this. And by the way, this judge I'm not sure if it's Parkinson's or something, but his voice is a little different. So let's go.
Oh.
What it related to exactly. I mean, I remember you saying this, and one of the jurors had a question about, you said your memory had been refreshed about something. What did you mean by that?
So over 5 years have passed since Danny died. And
Speak to them.
sorry. So more than 5 years have passed since Danny died. And a lot of the things that we're talking about today, I just don't remember at all. And so to
That's
refresh my
convenient.
memory to make sure that I could remember things. Certain documents were shown to me, emails, legal pleadings from the case, so that I could remember what was happening at that time.
One of
I mean, just let that sink in. They had, even Jeffrey was completely aware years later of everything, every detail that happened, because they were battled about this custody situation. So yeah, and I believe at least one of the jury members was interviewed, and they did not. The jury in general, from what they said, did not find her believable.
the jurors was a little
Yeah, I would.
confused with the timing.
I just said, oh, that's convenient that she doesn't remember.
It-
Doesn't remember.
Yeah, probably very rehearsed for all of these types of.
You had said
Oh,
you had
weird.
a boyfriend, and that it was not clear to them whether you said it was a month after your separation and filing for divorce or a month after it was finalized.
Isn't this interesting? The jury wanted to know how soon was she dating her new boyfriend I believe that was Daniel. I forgot his last name at the moment, but not Jeffrey, after the
Oh.
divorce, because there was some question about her fidelity as well. Mhm.
Oh,
So
Yeah, this was pre-Jeffrey.
I started
Okay.
dating someone who was a friend of mine for many years, and it didn't become romantic until after I had filed for divorce. So about a month after I filed for divorce, someone who was a friend in my life became more like a boyfriend than a friend.
Sure.
but the divorce wasn't finalized. Even though
Oh, yeah,
it
the
was
divorce-
filed, we're not
divorce-
even
the
close
divorce-
to done.
the divorce was finalized. They were fighting over whether she could move with the kids to Florida or not.
No. When she started dating this guy,
Oh, say it again then. Sorry.
the divorce wasn't finalized when she started dating this guy. She had just filed for divorce.
They were just friends.
1 month after she gave him papers,
Then he
all of a
magically
sudden they're
became.
a couple.
She had filed for divorce. Debbie is saying, yeah.
Right, but it wasn't finalized. Like, yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
Let's
okay.
listen again.
Because usually it takes like a few. In the state of South Dakota, after you file, you have to do like I want to say it's a 30-day legal separation before you can actually start to finalize the divorce. Like you have to have
Right.
a legal separation period and all that. And that's after you submit the papers. Okay, so she submitted the papers. She didn't submit them. She left the papers on his bed
Right.
and took the kids. And a
everything.
month later, she's dating somebody.
Okay, I want to listen to this one more time just
Please.
because I wasn't. Shows how smart the jury is. Okay, I backed up. too
Yeah.
far. Sorry.
You saying this, and one of the jurors had a question about, you said your memory had been refreshed about something.
Pleadings from the case so that I could remember what was happening at that time.
But during the testimony, she even denied remembering when her memory was refreshed with the case, with the custody papers. But sure.
Oh,
One of
good
the
Lord.
jurors was a little confused with the timing. You had said you had a boyfriend, and that it was not clear to them whether you said it was a month after your separation and filing for divorce or a month after it was finalized.
Sure. So I started dating someone who was a friend of mine for many years, and it didn't become
Extra information, by the way. She didn't need to say I started dating friend who was years, blah, blah, blah.
It could have just been, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
romantic until after I had filed for divorce. So about a month after.
Like all this extra information, but after I filed, like with the look. Yes. Thank you for clearing that up.
I filed for divorce, someone who was a friend in my life became more like a boyfriend than a friend.
Again,
What
convenient.
was wrong with
But
the
sure, she likes to say but
television
sure.
that had to be repaired?
I think one of my kids might have.
I think one of my kids, the scrunchy face here, when she's lying, she scrunches her face and like, you know how like a kid, like you've got kids, you know, it's like, oh no, I didn't do that, or oh no, I didn't do that. Like it's all extra.
Over dramatic. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, how did the TV get broken? Very smart jury.
Well, I think.
I'm gonna replay that one.
I'm sorry. Pause for 1 second. Back to that boyfriend. Was he ever witnessing anything?
Daniel, what was his last name, you guys? Oh, you're welcome. Hi, Debbie. What was Daniel's last name? My brain is just not even. It's a Jewish last name. I cannot remember his. I keep thinking Rashbaum because that's Charlie's lawyer, but it's not Rashbaum. I got his
Okay.
name on the brain. So,
But he wasn't in the picture when the murder happened.
she was talking to him. She was texting him, I believe, that day.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, this will come up. This will come up. Sack. Yeah, Daniel Sachs. Thank you, Debbie. We love it. My brain is not like it used to be. I'd be a horrible juror. I'd be like, what? No, okay, I gotta rewatch the whole trial now. I would drive everyone crazy. Okay, so let's get on with, okay, so see what I mean? There's so much right here.
Finalized.
Sure. So
Sure.
I started dating someone who was a friend of mine for many years, and it didn't become romantic until after I had filed for divorce. So about a month after I filed for divorce.
After I had filed. Right. In other words, I'm being so honest about this.
Someone who was a friend in my life became more like a boyfriend than
Hi, Debbie.
Okay. What was wrong with the television that had to be repaired?
I think one of my kids might.
I think one of my kids, I'm sorry. We had that already, as you well know, right? Because we watched the interview right after the murder. She had that script completely ready. Now, how could
she had the name and the card of the guy who came and fixed it. Like,
and she spoke to her brother and her mother about whether to fix it or whether to replace it and la la la. So this jury is really smart, and just the faces here. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I interrupted again. I wanted to have a clip of that for one of my shorts.
meetings from the case so that I could remember what was happening at that
I will
time.
not interrupt.
One of the jurors was a little confused with the timing. You had said you had a boyfriend and that it was not clear to them whether you said it was a month after your separation and filing for divorce or a month after it was finalized.
Sure. So I started dating someone who was a friend of mine for many years, and it didn't become romantic until after I had filed for divorce. So about a month after I filed for divorce, someone who was a friend in my life became more like a boyfriend.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry on that one. He was romantic all along. You don't just go from being a friend. Come on.
no. Mm-mm.
Okay. What was wrong with the television that had to be repaired?
I think one of my kids might have thrown something at it, so there was a crack in the TV.
And why have Mr. Markel's parents not been allowed to see the grandchildren?
Well, they were allowed to see the grandchildren for 2 full years, and I used to cook meals for them and arrange play dates. We had sleepovers, and then I found out that
It's so
Bruce
rehearsed
Markel
again.
had reached out to a foster care.
Sorry,
By the way-
pause.
Yes, I'm pausing. By the way,
Go ahead.
yes. Well, I was just going to say on the last part, the other thing I noticed is when she answered about the television being broken and making all the faces, she didn't look at the jury.
No.
She answered the judge. And he didn't correct her either. She didn't look at them. She couldn't because what was your thing?
Just the whole, well, they did get to see them for 2 years because I cooked meals for them and I did this and I scheduled play dates. That's the exact same thing that she said in the next one.
Right. And
So it's very rehearsed. Like
right. Well, she knew she was going to be asked about this because she hadn't been doing that. And it's very suspicious. And if you read Ruth Markel's
Right.
book, none of this is in agreement.
Their agency to try to
Right.
place my children with that agency. And I became very worried that they were trying to take my children away from me. And so after that time, I didn't feel a level of trust that they could spend time with the kids. I was afraid they were trying to take them from me.
Look at that face. I've never seen her make. Did you see that? And she held it.
Yeah, that was a face.
That's a face. Now look at her. She looks over to the judge. Her nostrils are
It's flared.
forward.
Woo!
Woo! Oh gosh, I love this still shot. Okay, poke that one in. Oh my gosh. And her nostrils do flare, and she juts out her lower teeth when she's angry on the stand. You'll see.
Okay. Follow up, Ms. Captain.
Your reference to the foster care agency, does that have to do with an email that was sent to me from your mother-in-law?
Yes, it does.
All right, and Dan's mother.
Yes.
And that email was in reference to, in the event that you and your parents were arrested in association with this crime, could I please contact that particular agency to assist with the children in the event they have no guardian temporarily until they could get down here from where they reside in Canada? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so they were not trying to take your children unless there was an event where you were unable to care for them.
But because there's no event in which I would be unable to care for them, that feels like trying to take away my children.
Oh, that face.
Children, there's the face, Wendy. And now look at her. Like,
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Poor little innocent little infantilized Wendy actually has an angry bone.
That was a face.
Hmm.
Garcia.
So in my mind, they were going to take my children away. In no one's mind were they going to.
No, that had nothing to do with it. It was in
Right.
the case of, if you go to prison, well, there is no reason I would go to prison.
Even though she's a named conspirator.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't at this point, but yeah, she is now.
Wow.
She is now.
Magbanua.
Now this is the defense.
And this email about there being possible arrests of you and your family, that came right after Katherine Magbanua was arrested, right?
I don't remember exactly the timeline of that.
Okay, thank you.
So she remembers everything about that email except that. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That was Katie's, Catherine's lawyer speaking.
Further, Ms. Captain. All right, you can step down. Do we need to keep this witness any further? Anybody need her any further?
She's like anxious to get off of that stand.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second, Ms. Adelson.
That must have scared the crap out of her right there.
It did. It
That-
did.
Precious. Hold on a second, Miss Adelson. We're gonna arrest you. I mean that would have scared anyone, right?
Yeah, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm free. And then all of a sudden, hold on.
She's like got her head down and she's like trying to keep her emotions together and
Uh-huh.
You remain under their subpoena. Right, you. Right, you can communicate
again, back of hair check.
with her about any arrangements. If you need her to come back, but she's free to go at this point.
She is running from that courtroom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she has to catch a plane. She's so important. She's got to get out of Tallahassee.
Yeah, because she hates it so much.
All right, last thing you're gonna get this afternoon is probably not what
Okay, so that was the juror questions, which I find really, I thought would be fun to kind of linger on today.
Yeah.
Sub segment. And if you'd like, we can let's see. We have a little bit of time. So we can go back to, let me see, what part is this? We can go back to, this is the defense. So we would have to go back to a different thing here, a different video to watch where she actually enters. So you can kind of see how she started and how she finished. I just thought that's kind of an interesting contrast. So, any other comments while I'm getting that together?
No, she did not hold her emotions together very well through that one.
What do you think? Do you think she did well? And do you think she thinks she did well? Or do you think she thinks what?
No, she thinks she did just fine because I think with her personality, she will never think she doesn't do well.
Right.
Like,
right.
Narcissist, sociopath, whatever word you want to give her today. Like,
yeah. All right. So I feel like we're missing the oh, you know what? I think she came in for the defense. That's why the defense is starting. She didn't come in for the prosecution. I believe because she was subpoenaed by the defense. I just remembered. The jury, right, Carrie? Hi, Carrie, and hi, Kitty Cat. Yes, I was going through this, and remember Katie S here, not the other Katie. We call her Magbanua. She hasn't seen any of this, so this is gold. So we have to help her out, right, Carrie? Okay, let's go.
Okay, so this is a trial for Katie, and Katie's defense subpoenaed Wendy.
Right, this is a trial for Katie and Sigfredo.
So why are they calling Wendy on the defense?
Well, part of their defense is this, and it was apparent more in the 2022 trial, is that Katie didn't have anything to Magbanua. I don't want to say Katie.
You're okay. You're
call her
fine.
Magbanua because our viewers are like, please don't call her Katie. Anyway, they get confused because you're Katie. Magbanua, their defense is that Magbanua didn't know anything about it. It was just Wendy and Charlie going right straight to Luis and Sigfredo. Why was Magbanua in the middle? Right. That was their, and they got a hung jury.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, what else did they
Okay.
have? What else did they have, really? Okay, so make sure I didn't mean any. Okay, here we go.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. It's John.
By the way, so there's going to be, and this is John Lauro, Wendy's attorney before we even get started. But so to your point, there's going to be Sigfredo's lawyer asking her question and Magbanua's lawyers asking her question, and then the prosecution. This is Wendy's personal lawyer, John Lauro, who, well, we're just going to say that's who he is.
John Lauro, Lauro, and I'm counsel for Ms. Adelson.
All right. And it's my understanding that the state is requesting the court to compel Ms. Adelson's testimony. Is that correct, Ms. Captain?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And based upon that, Ms. Adelson, testimony you provide and anything derived from this testimony cannot be used against you, but you will be required to answer all relevant questions. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
So first of all, the first point here, and this is where we're getting into the immunity question, as I mentioned earlier, that we were going to get into. So the first thing is, it doesn't matter what kind or what type of immunity someone has. If they are not 100% truthful, they lose it. So if they lie on the stand, it doesn't matter if she has immunity or anyone has immunity or not. It becomes a moot point. So there's that. And many people have called her out for lying on the stand because what she says on the stand is directly in conflict to what she said in the police interview. Just, I wouldn't know, but that's what people say.
Right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Secretary, please.
She looks like, I don't know how to explain it.
It's definitely
Like-
a look.
Yes. She's very much on pins and needles, it appears to me, with the way that she's like looking around like,
Yes, yeah, on alert.
yeah,
Hyper alert. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. For sure. She's very aware. And someone else, another content creator, pointed that out a couple of years ago. I don't even remember who it was, about how she was just watching every single detail. It was probably True Lifestyle.
It kind of reminds me of like a cat, like looking for its prey. That's not the right way, but like, I don't know.
You'll
Anyway.
think of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Would we then break upstairs and reserve cross for Tuesday?
No. We're gonna finish today with this witness.
I understand, I don't believe that we're gonna be able to do the deposition.
That's up to you.
You guys can submit a report for us.
I mean, she is an attorney, so she's paying attention.
Yeah, it seems different from just paying
Yeah.
attention.
I agree. She has an attorney there representing her too. He can pay attention for her. There's the dress. The famous
The
dress.
dress.
It's such a drab dress. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
There's
kind
some
of like
color in there, Wendy.
a funeral dress. Well, she wants to look like a widow, right? Not a.
Everybody be thankful. Proceed, Ms. Kaplan.
I wouldn't recommend gray for her in general.
No.
I mean, it's not a gray. Yeah. A little
still
smirk. See that little smile, that little smirk? I don't know if you saw that, but she does all these little miniature Duchenne smiles. What was your comment?
Oh, just how completely different she looks from being in the police station, like how put together she is here versus how not put together she was for her lunch date.
Right, and
It's
which is
a
why I
very
think
stark contrast.
very unusual that she would have gone out for lunch like that. But also, we looked at the clip from 2022. Doesn't she look quite a bit different in those 3 years?
Yes.
All right, please introduce yourself and spell your name.
My name is Wendi Adelson, Wendiadelson.
And I talk like a little baby.
How are you employed, Ms. Adelson?
I'm an attorney.
All right, and do you know,
Just a little bit, if you would, please, ma'am. All right.
I'm an attorney.
all right, how were you employed back in 2014?
I was employed at FSU Law School.
Okay, and were you a member of the Florida Bar at that time?
I was.
All right. And did you know Dan Markel?
Yes, I did.
How did you know Mr. Markel?
He was my husband.
When did you meet him?
We met in 2004.
Okay, so now take note. She's looking up and to the right because that's kind of when you're looking to the left, you're accessing emotional things. Up and to the right, usually information or pictures or something you might have memorized or just something you're recalling from your brain.
She almost seemed offended when the attorney asked her, how does she know Dan Markel?
He was
He was my husband.
I know. I'm glad you noticed that. You can pause, shout out, pause anytime. By the way, we're going to go, let's see, what time is it? Maybe another half hour. Does that work?
Yep.
And when did you marry?
Georgia.
We married in 2006.
Did you ever live in Tallahassee?
I did live in Tallahassee.
When did you first move to Tallahassee?
We moved to Tallahassee in the fall, August of 2005, and we lived in Tallahassee that academic year. So from 2005 until the summer of
Okay, so notice even when she wasn't looking up, her eyes remained up and to the right there. And this is important for when she recalls other things later on.
2006. And then we spent a year living in Miami from 2006 to 2007. And then I lived back in Tallahassee from 2007 to 2014.
Okay, so pause that again for a second.
I lived back, not we, but go ahead.
Well, didn't she just say they didn't get married until 2006, but they were living together prior to that?
Well, they lived, I don't know if they were living together, but they lived in the same city.
Okay.
Wow.
See, it seems interesting with me because of like just growing up religious, like living together before you're married is a big no-no. And I just assume that in the Jewish tradition as well, that would be a big no-no.
Well, the Adelson family, remember Jeffrey Lacasse's interview, he said that they were atheistic Jews. In other words, they didn't practice.
But he's not.
But
Dan
he-
is very
Okay,
much a
so I don't know if they
practicing,
lived
so-
together or just lived in the same city, but that's a good point. I know
Okay.
I have that too. Mm-hmm. All right.
Say the first time.
The first time we moved to Tallahassee for Danny's job, he got a job at FSU Law School.
All right. And what about the second time?
And the second time we moved back to Tallahassee because he had tried to get a job at University of Miami Law School and it didn't work out.
All right. So both times.
Throw him under the bus.
Yes.
Yeah, he wanted tenure. It wasn't a fast track like it was in Tallahassee, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Any chance she
Which
gets,
is-
and no emotion, no accessing her emotions or anything when talking about their marriage or these times. You know, the guy's dead. You would think there'd be some kind of, you married him, right? Okay.
You had 2 children with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you like living in Tallahassee?
I did.
All right. And did you live on?
Boing, 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 boing. I need one of those squeaky things that are those
Yeah.
sound effects things. I haven't installed that. Mm-hmm. Ding, 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 ding.
Sure.
Trescott
Sure, Wendy.
Drive?
We did. That was our home.
And where are you from, Ms. Adelson?
I'm from Broward County originally.
Okay. And do you have family members in Broward currently?
By the way, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of this right now. This is Dan Markel's home, the driveway, the garage where he
Mhm.
pulled into his car when Sigfredo shot him in the head twice. Why are they not showing the exhibits in the Murdaugh trial? That bothers me too. There's so much information. So just watching it is really hard when you're
Mhm.
not seeing what they're seeing. It's very hard. I mean, you get to see it.
There's
Yeah.
so they're releasing stuff after, but because of the
Afterwards.
gore, they won't
Some
show
of
it.
it's not gory. Yeah. But I agree. I
Yeah.
mean, not all of it. I mean,
That's-
they don't show the gory parts here either. They show
Yeah.
everything else. Yeah.
I have one family member in Broward.
Where do you live currently? Or you can just tell us.
I live in Miami-Dade County.
And what about your parents? Where do they live?
They currently live in Miami-Dade County.
All right. And what about your brother, Charles Adelson?
He lives in Broward County.
Okay, I stand corrected. The prosecution is starting the questioning, so they must have called her in, but the defense also had a subpoena evidently, because that's what they were talking about before she walked out.
And do you have any children?
I do.
And how many children do you have?
I have 2 children.
What are their ages?
They are 10 and 8, turning 9 soon.
Okay. Both boys?
Both boys.
And both the biological children of Dan Markel?
Yes.
A little look away there. Yes. Mm-hmm. Weird.
How is your
Mhm.
are your family members employed, specifically your parents and your brother?
My mom is not currently working very much. She helps out with my dad's office. My dad is a dentist, and my brother Charlie is a periodontist.
And does your family have a dental practice in South Florida
They do.
that they own and operate?
They do.
Is your family in South Florida wealthy? And that's a relative term.
Are you asking me to speculate?
Are you asking me to speculate? Oh my gosh, this annoys me so much. This is
Huh.
it's lawyerly, but it's really like she's just waiting. I mean, and Georgia kind of gave her because she said, you know, it's a relative term. Georgia kind of stepped her question back, but she didn't have to do that. She's right on top of it. Look at that face. Now you can see how she looks like Charlie. A lot of people don't think she looks like Charlie, but another Nice little freeze frame there for you. Yeah, that face really changes, doesn't it? Like it's not, it doesn't look like the same person who walked in, does it?
No, the
No.
mask comes off. The innocence comes off. Also, why does she keep looking this other way, that way, whatever? She isn't the jury on this side.
She's looking often to the right and the jury is to the left. That is correct. I noticed that too. And a lot of times it's, like I know somebody in my family who, when I say something that she doesn't want to hear, she goes like that. She turns it like her face away to block.
That's hilarious.
So I'm not sure if she's blocking or looking at something over there, but it appeared to me she was doing a little bit of blocking there. So that's something to watch for.
Okay.
So far, she hasn't accessed anything emotional in terms of to her left. I mean, we don't know what's going on inside that little brain, but just love that photo there. Let's just gonna let that one sink in.
Oh, I'm asking if they're wealthy. You may, if you don't know, you say you don't know.
It depends how you define wealthy.
Okay. Are they millionaires?
No.
They're not millionaires. Okay.
How would she know what their financial status is?
Oh, because that's all that family ever does is talk about money. They talk about whether she should fix her TV or not. And she's a 40-year-old, 35-year-old, whatever woman at that point. Come on. No. Another look away.
Wow.
When did you say?
George is like,
And then a side eye.
did you hear Georgia go, okay. The prosecutor. Okay.
Separate from Mr. Markel?
We separated in the fall of 2012.
Little squinty eyes, pretending like maybe she doesn't really remember that day. She had to really think about it. Had to think about that. I mean, that's why she's here. Testimony, come on.
And
Trying to sell that she
was
forgets.
part of the reason for your disagreement or separation having to do with how to raise the children in terms of your faith?
Yes, we had different ways of practicing our faith.
Okay.
Lovely comment for the jury. We had different ways of practicing our faith. He had faith, I had none. But we had I mean, that is basically the reality, and according to everyone who knew her. And that's fine if she has no faith, but that was another little performance, in my opinion.
Do you know when you filed for divorce?
I believe it was the fall of 2012.
Okay, 9/10/2012 sound right to you?
That sounds right.
And when you separated initially in the fall of 2012, did you move to South Florida with the kids?
No, I did not.
You didn't go to South Florida with the kids?
No, I did not.
Was it your desire during that time to move with the children to South Florida?
I would say right then, no, it wasn't.
Are you familiar with a court order ordering you to come back to Tallahassee from South Florida?
I'm not familiar with that.
What?
When you moved,
What? Right. I forgot that. Everything else, yeah.
How would you not know about a court order?
I'm telling you to come back to Tallahassee, right? Oh my gosh.
Did she go to Miami after the separation?
She tried. Yeah, she tried, evidently.
Okay.
Okay, so Georgia has a good question. And yay, Trisha. Yes. Hi, Trisha. We're live. Welcome. And I have a Venmo for those of you who have been so kind and want to support me and my channel. There's a Venmo in the description if you want to leave a tip or buy me a drink or whatever, coffee. And if you need the link in the comments, I can put it there. But it's right in the description underneath here. So thank you for that. Thank you for your thoughtfulness. Georgia asks, and this is a cool question. Go Georgia asks, does a left-handed person access vice versa side, I wonder? And the answer is no, according to the behavior panel. But yeah, so it is an interesting question. Yeah, it's because it's the way our brains are built. So thank you much. Thank you much. And then her best friend Tova moves her head like a bobblehead too. does she float it around like that? Yeah, because it's a bobblehead, but it's like a bobblehead in slow motion, like
It's
underwater.
like
Underwater. And I just all I can think of is it's baby like when a baby doesn't have full control of their heads and neck muscles aren't formed yet, and the baby's just and then she does this with like she's
she
even
never
with,
closes
like,
her mouth ever.
never right, which is very quite sexual.
Out from the marital home there on Trescott
Well, she will close her mouth, but very rarely, and we'll see it.
Drive. You lived at another residence in Tallahassee, is that correct?
I did.
And do you recall the address there?
I do. 3303 Aqua Ridge Way.
Okay. And
Hard swallow.
was there a time during the time that you were living there at Aqua Ridge,
Did you catch that super hard swallow after she said her address?
Yes.
Not sure what that's about, but that was a hard swallow.
Ridge, that you determined that you would like to move to South Florida with the children?
There was.
Right. And were your parents very involved in trying to facilitate that relocation?
My parents were supportive of me moving to South Florida.
Would you describe your
So she's not answering the question. She's changing the word, which I really wish. I'm sure Georgia knows what she's doing, but I guess if I were an attorney, I'd be much more of a like pit bull.
That's not what I asked.
That's not what I asked. Would you please answer the question, Ms. Adelson?
Uh-huh.
And according to Jeffrey, she would fall apart under that kind of pressure. So, but you know what? They call it greasing a pig or something like I don't know.
your parents as being over involved
like
in
that
your
one.
personal business?
As compared to other people's parents?
Yeah.
I
As
don't know.
to other,
I don't know.
there again, instead of answering the question, Georgia said, yeah, like,
Yeah.
which is cool. I love Georgia. I like her laid back, but Wendy grabbed that opportunity. As to other people's parents, she should have said, I just
Yes
asked
or no.
your parents. Yeah. And then she
Are your
changed
parents still on your bank accounts, Wendy?
these games.
Yeah.
are really,
She's really good at turning the question into her favor.
but they're allowing it and it's nauseating.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
It's nauseating.
Yeah.
Her mouth is closed for a sec.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
because she's mad.
What was the child custody schedule
She
when
wants-
you were living at
She's trying to assess whether she won that round or not,
Aqua Ridge?
Mhm.
And
I think.
I assume Mr. Markel continued to live in the marital home on Trescott.
He did.
Okay. What was the custody situation with the kids?
So the custody situation changed over time, and
Again, up to the right, and up to the right so often tells me she rehearsed, like she had aids, written diagram, whatever she needed. And that is what she's looking at. She's
Sure.
remembering, because she would not need to look up and to the right to recall some of these very basic questions. That's
Like
why,
when you got married, when you met.
right. That's why I think she rehearsed this whole thing. I'm not saying she was coached. There's a difference.
Yeah.
depending on the part of the year. But I think in the beginning, we would do a Wednesday night overnight. It was about 50-50 shared custody, but I don't remember the exact arrangement. I do remember in the summertime it would switch to week on, week off, but during the school year it was slightly different.
So still 50-50, but not necessarily every other week. It was mixed up within the week.
It was.
Okay. And
Again, she didn't ask for all those details.
No.
Just ask.
And then here comes the head bob.
Mm-hmm.
And her mouth opens as she tilts her head.
People ask me why every time I do a short with Wendy, I do the "I'm just a baby." It's what it reminds me of.
you mentioned that you did develop a desire to move to South Florida. Did you file a motion to that effect on January 14th, 2013?
That sounds, I did file a motion. I don't remember the exact date,
Okay.
but that sounds about right.
All right. And in that motion, did you
I'm so innocent. And she did some lip licking there right before that question too. Grooming is Greg Hartley calls it.
make some allegations that Mr. Markel was making things difficult for you at work?
I did.
And
No hesitation on that one.
No, she knew that answer right away.
Right. I did. He was making it difficult for her. So she's very attached to how she was hurt and damaged, right? That one was
Yes.
like, no problem answering that one. Didn't have to look up to the right for that one.
Was that motion granted or denied?
That motion was denied.
All right, denied with prejudice?
I don't remember.
Okay,
If you have it, I'm happy to take a look.
okay. But in any event, you were not able to move at that time.
I did not move.
I did not move. No, you were not allowed to move by the court. I did not move. Trying to
And
maintain.
again, I don't remember. This is stuff that
She
you
knows.
don't forget,
Yeah, that would be her, what we call,
especially as an attorney.
that's what we
That is
call.
not something you would forget.
No, and she's going to motivation here. That's why she's being so cagey.
Yeah.
Georgia is.
And were you upset about being stuck in Tallahassee?
I was relieved.
You were relieved. You wanted to stay in Tallahassee.
I was happy at my job.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just. Mhm. Okay.
Yet the second he was murdered, she ran, but she was happy at her job.
Yeah, she had no way she could have moved that whole household out without planning that, as far as I'm concerned.
And she just filed a motion that to move. If
just
she didn't want to move, why would you file that motion to move?
Yeah, very comfortable. Look at this face saying that something that is
Wow.
like by hundreds of people considered to be false.
Wow. All right.
In Georgia. Okay.
Do you recall when your divorce to Mr. Markel became final?
The summer of 2013.
Okay, July 31st sound about right?
That sounds right.
Would you consider your divorce with Mr. Markel to be a nasty divorce?
I think most divorces aren't very pleasant.
Here again, she's not answering.
Nope. Twisting it
Generalize.
around.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but this one was like really unpleasant, right?
I found getting divorced to be unpleasant, yes.
It's not about you, Wendy.
It's just, now bear in mind, this isn't her or her family member on trial here. It's someone else. And Georgia is probably tactically, not tactfully, but tactfully too, but it's very much a chess move to try to get her to say certain things on the stand for future trials, because they did have other people in their crosshairs.
Okay.
So, as much as I'm whining about Georgia, I'm not whining about Georgia at all. I'm just saying, for those who aren't familiar with the case, this testimony can be used for future trials.
Mm-hmm.
And in the litigation that ensued between the two of you, you guys argued over things as small as a tennis racket, I noticed in one pleading.
I don't remember that.
Did he threaten to press kidnapping charges against you?
Overruled.
I don't
Remember
remember
that?
that. No.
Did he threaten to go after your law license? Remember that?
I don't remember that.
The following week after his death, that was part of the hearing that was next. Quite a big deal. But I don't remember.
I don't remember any of this.
No. But by
Wow.
everyone's account, even her friends, by their accounts, even the people who are standing by her said it was the nastiest, divorce and custody
Mm-hmm.
hearing that they could. Even the people who were loyal to her said that. Got to get to a couple of these comments here. Carrie B points out about her gulping after saying what her address
Mhm.
was. That's the address she went with the boys when she couldn't tell Danny. Maybe the hard gulp in fear of those questions. Very possible. She definitely gulped for some reason. She doesn't know what's coming next, of course. I mean, she knows to a certain degree what she's going to be asked about. It's not a full-on surprise. It never is. It rarely is. And it could also have, it could be a lot of reasons. But the hard gulp, we did notice that, because that big throat she has. Katie, I was relieved that the judge denied my motion to move with prejudice. By the way, it was with prejudice, meaning that there was no coming back from that, really. Okay, LOL. Right. Exactly.
No,
You remember him saying you failed to disclose a bunch of assets in the divorce process?
I do remember that.
Oh,
Did you guys have any mediations as part of your divorce?
We did have mediations leading up to settlement.
2 8-hour mediations, correct?
I don't remember how long they were, but they seemed very long.
Yeah. And they both did not result in a resolution.
They did not.
The tongue.
I know.
All right, but
Yep,
you did
when
reach
that
a
comes out.
settlement, I think kind of just on.
Now, I don't know what you guys think, but if you're replaying this or live in the chat, or replaying, let me know in the comments. Let us know in the comments. There's a thing that Greg Hartley refers to as a tongue jut. And that is when you stick out your tongue, because I think she does it part of her look, her seductive look, her seductive baby look, I guess. It's kind of like a cross between an infant and Marilyn Monroe, I guess. I'm not, with the bobbly head and the lip thing. But the tongue jut oftentimes is done in subconsciously by people who are saying something that's not true. And so they find it distasteful. They know it's distasteful. And so they're pushing it out of their mouth. Yeah. But again, I'm not a body language expert in any way, but she definitely stuck her tongue out there.
On the eve of a trial on the matter, correct?
That sounds right.
Do you remember this motion that was filed by your deceased ex-husband on March 26,
Just him.
2014, involving, among other things, that had to do with your mother, an allegation that your mother was disparaging the children? I'm sorry.
Overruled.
Disparaging him to the children is what I meant to say. Are you familiar with that pleading?
I am familiar with that pleading.
All right.
She had to look up and to the right for that again, even though so again, that implies to me that she had to think of, how am I supposed to answer this one? Not what is the answer to this one?
Mhm.
Because I certainly rehearsed this, I would think.
In that pleading, did he allege that you were depriving him of physical access to the children?
I don't remember the specifics.
There goes the face, the squishy face for extra effect. I really don't.
Do you recall whether he was complaining about you refusing to communicate with him about right of first refusal to the children during your time with them?
I know he was frustrated about the Skyping.
Lack of communication via Skype.
It's hard
he
to
and the
Skype
children.
with two toddlers. Yeah.
I can't.
Look at me. I'm such a great mom.
I'm a mom of 2 toddlers. So cute.
Yes.
All right. And in that motion, do you recall him being upset about an allegation that you let the kids eat non-kosher foods?
I remember him being upset about that in general, but I don't remember whether it was an emotion or not.
Another
What does
squishy
that mean,
nose.
non-kosher foods?
I don't remember.
So kosher rules have to do with the separation of milk and meat, or dairy and meat. So non-kosher foods would be meat that hasn't been killed in a way that conforms with Jewish law, or the mixing of the two.
And is observing those types of eating habits something that's important to you?
It is not important to me.
And was it something that was important to Dan Markel?
It was important to Danny.
And it was important to him that the children observed that way of eating, correct?
It was.
And in that motion, did he seek to restrict your mother's contact with the kids to supervised visits only?
I don't
I
remember.
don't remember, but if you'd like to show me the motion, I can take a look.
Okay. but
You
don't
would
remember
know,
that
Wendy.
portion.
Look at that extra. I love that. So nice, Wendy.
Wow.
Right. There were massive amounts of emails between her and her mother about this that are.
But
But
she
she
doesn't
was fine.
remember.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Do you remember the allegation that your mother made statements to the children that grandma hates you,
Overruled.
grandma says you're stupid, your father is trying to take my sunshines away, anything like that? Do you recall?
No, but again, I'm happy to look at it if you'd like to show me.
I understand. Do you recall that Mr. Markel was seeking sanctions against you personally in that motion?
I don't remember that.
There we go. Starts with the,
There's the squishy face again.
not only that, but it was a little extra, I don't know. It's just so childlike, like just a childlike person who's like fibbing to their parents about, taking a
Yeah.
cookie or something. No, I didn't take a cookie. I mean, it's so childlike. Yeah, her mom was giving her kids cheeseburgers too. Poor Dan.
That
Do you know whether this would have been a motion that you would have shown to your mother? Would she have been aware of it?
I probably would have shown my mom the motion.
Is it fair to say that your
Probably. She knows they have those emails.
parents are very protective of you?
I think that's fair to say.
Is it fair to say that your brother is very protective of you?
I think that's fair to say.
Again, up and to the right. Why would you need to intellectually access that? That if you're going to have to access anything, it'd be, I don't know, it's just odd.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any emotions.
What about Dan Markel? Did your family like him?
Do you want to specify a point in time?
Well, I'm specific.
By the way,
isn't that a simple yes or no?
I mean, that should tell you everything right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, by the way, the defense objected a couple of times. I'm not exactly sure why they would have, because they needed her as much as the prosecution did, because they were using her as a defense, or the Adelson family as defense, especially Charlie, for her. So I don't get, if anybody knows why the defense would have objected. I mean, of course, hearsay, blah, 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 but you don't object to that unless it matters. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Specifically thinking of a statement you made in the interview after his death, where you indicated that your parents were very angry with him. Is that accurate?
At that point in time, during our divorce, I do think they were angry with him. They felt like he had treated me badly.
And the motion to preclude your mom from having unsupervised contact with your kids, that was still pending at the time of his murder, correct?
That's possible. I mean, I don't think anyone took that motion very seriously.
Oh, so now she remembers the motion.
She remembers that one because that's how he ended up dead, according to the prosecution.
Okay. Did your mom take it seriously?
I don't think so.
You would not, you haven't even seen those emails yet. I don't think so.
Did Dan Markel take it seriously?
I don't know how Danny felt about a motion. If he wrote the motion, he was probably taking it seriously.
How disrespectful. Oh my gosh.
I want to approach with some.
Again, I just want to note, no emotional accessing for any of this.
None.
Zero.
None.
And we know what she said in the interview room about her family hating Danny. First thing that came up when Detective Isom asked who could have done this.
Emails, have you had an opportunity to review State's Exhibit 80?
Okay, this is a good place to pause because she's going to see an exhibit and it's really interesting to watch how she reads this exhibit. So we're at 15 minutes and 55 seconds. And wow. So what do you think? Thoughts overall? Of course, by way of reminder for those watching, Katie, my partner here, has not seen the trial of Magbanua and Garcia. And she was fairly new to the Dan Markel case when agreeing to partner up with me to do these live streams. So what's your overall thoughts so far, especially compared? Okay, so we've got the interrogation on the day of Dan's murder in 2014, and then this is 2019, the trial for Magbanua, Garcia, where Rivera offered proffer so that they could actually bring them to trial. And then we saw a clip last week, was it, of the 2022 appearance on the witness stand. So what are your thoughts so far?
She seems more confident in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's in control.
Okay.
And obviously in the next one, though, it was right as Charlie was getting arrested. So I think that like, woo,
That's right.
took her down a peg. But she is very like confident in this one.
Yeah. And I mean, her hair is partly flat ironed for this one. The next one in 2022, just to put it in curly terms, she's like, skip the flat iron. Like she just got out there. She's got the same dress, skip the flat iron, had lots of Botox. You can see her eyebrows look completely different, which is, no shade for that, but just the changes in the look just in 3 years. And you're right. Can't imagine it could have felt real good walking into that and to that courtroom to testify right like within days of, I think it was within the day, maybe it was within the day. I mean, that had to be such a move, like power move by the state to arrest Charlie right before she testified.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. She didn't know what she was walking into. So, okay, well, that is going to wrap up our thoughts for today. Did you remember your question about the Mark Jensen trial? Nope. That's okay.
No.
It'll come to you.
No. But I do have one thing to say about Wendy and her bobblehead. So we have a water park by us that we go to, and the lifeguards, well, honestly, the lifeguards in general at anything. Did you know that like when they're watching a pool, they need to bob their head and look, and then they come back, and then they bob their head again and look, and then they come back? That's kind of what she reminds me of when she's like, because I was really focusing on her bobblehead this last couple minutes. It's like,
yeah. Uh-huh.
And it just reminds me for some reason of like looking at the swimming pool where you're looking at, anyway.
Right. And plus their body.
It's just weird.
Their body is kind of floating in the water too when they're doing that. So that would contribute.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like I thought it was like almost embryonic, like still in the like sack floating around. I have never seen an adult or anyone really with that kind of, it has to have.
No.
She didn't do this when she was 17, I think, or what? Yeah, I think she was 17 or so when she was on the television show. When she appeared on the Weakest Link, I have shared those photos. She didn't have any of that kind of put on look, like with the lips. I mean, she has full lips kind of naturally, but probably some enhancement, but the whole look, and it's like I said, it seems kind of baby-like, and kind of, to me, it seems kind of suckling with the lips, but it's also a little Marilyn Monroe-ish. So it had to be, again, rehearsed, practiced.
It's very contrived.
So, but she's got it down. Like she doesn't deviate from it a whole lot, does she? That's her look.
No. But when that mask comes off, oh boy.
Not pretty. Not pretty. I mean, when that look comes off, that mask, she looks exactly like Charlie. I mean, doesn't she? I mean, or maybe you haven't seen him.
I haven't seen.
Like they could have been twins. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Wait, sorry. She was on the Weakest Link?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What?
You want to see it real quick? Okay, let me see if I can.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought I shared this with you already. It's in the community pages.
I need to be better about looking at the community pages.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Okay, let's see if I can find it.
No, you showed me the picture. Remember when her dad fixed her boobs?
Well, yeah, it was part of that. It was part of that compilation.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, okay, let's get to it. Because I can pause it. Where is it?
Oh, God.
You know what's weird? It's not showing up here, but the question is there, but it's almost like, oh, here it is.
Oh.
Okay. when I click on it,
Oh,
it was just there. There it is. Okay.
stop it. That's her.
Yeah, it's just a GIF, so I don't know if I can pause it. Okay, but it'll come around again. And there's a video of it as well, which I think I have.
That is not the same person that we keep
There she
seeing in
is,
court.
in pink here. There's Charlie with Dan. There's one of her faces. That's her mother. She doesn't look anything like her mother.
No.
Here's the Winkus link. There she is.
That's insane.
Right. Right. That's pre, whatever she had done. And obviously her dad photoshopped.
Yeah, that's weird too. That's so weird. That's so weird.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Okay, but that person is not even close to the same person that we're seeing on the stand.
That was the police photograph when she did
Right. It's so
right.
Not put together. And
Well,
it's
not
weird.
only not put together, but she doesn't have the cheek implants yet, and she didn't have any cheekbones at that point. They carry their down here. There she is. You see how she's got and she's real flat up here, but now in the trial in 2019, she's got full on cheekbones. So, which is great. That looks nice on her.
Wow. Anyway,
have it there.
That's crazy. I did not know that.
That is our girl.
Wow.
Yes, the many faces.
Wow.
The many faces of Wendy. Oh, Trisha's back. Trisha, she wants to pretend things were not important when she knew they were absolutely important, like Skyping, keeping kosher. Frustrating when we can't waste time looking up in the book. Yeah, and the Skyping thing was interesting too, because she complained to Danny about Skyping when he was with his girlfriend Amy. Wasn't okay.
Interesting.
So Skyping was a thing. Yeah. Yep.
Crazy. Anyway.
All right, everyone. Well, hey, everyone. Thank you so much for commenting, for joining, for clicking the like on your way out. I appreciate that so much. It helps support my tiny little channel. And I am not monetized. I don't know if I ever will be. So I'm going to let you guys decide if I should become monetized or not. But so with that, we'll be back in 1 week on Wednesday with maybe some more, right? We're going to take off where this is and maybe a little chit chat about the Murdaugh trial, because it's pretty exciting. Maybe it'll get more exciting. And that is one of the advantages I have by watching it at night. I can look at the exhibits because by then they've been published. Yeah, and then I can put it on faster speed. So yeah. Any final thoughts, Katie, before we go?
No.
All right, everyone.
Have a great week.
You too. We'll see you next week. Thanks again for joining us. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye.